Hey, I'm Wajat Ali, and you're in the stream. The nation's eyes are on New Mexico as Albuquerque might be the first city to ban abortions after 20 weeks. However, the state allows it. What does this fight mean for New Mexico and the rest of the country? Lisa Fletcher is away, but my man Omar Badar is subbing in as co-host and the digital DJ. Look, Omar, nothing is more contentious in this country than the abortion debate, and our community, I'm sure, is reflecting that.
It really is one of the most controversial issues, and as you might expect, there are a lot of people who are weighing in with very strong feelings.
Yeah, I'm sure.
When we put it out there about what the prospect of having this ban passed, we had a tweet here from Caitlin who says, "This is horrific. It affects the most vulnerable women and the most risky pregnancies. Supporting a 20-week ban is the opposite of pro-life." On the other hand, we have Lynn Willingham, who doesn't think it goes far enough. She says, "I say all 50 states should ban abortion, period. That is murder, and the woman or girl who has an abortion should." Of course, for those of you at home, we want you to be part of this conversation, so don't forget to tweet us using the hashtag that you see on your screen right now, AJAMStream.
All right, keep tweeting at Omar. Albuquerque is set to vote on this issue next Tuesday. If passed, it essentially bans abortions after 20 weeks of pregnancy, including cases of rape and incest. The only exceptions granted would be to save a mother's life. Currently, 13 states have similar bans, 3 of which have legal challenges against them, those being Georgia, Arizona, and Idaho. But the fight in Albuquerque is unique in that it would be the first city in the United States to approve such a ban. Although it's a municipal vote, the ban would be felt statewide, as Albuquerque is the only city in New Mexico that offers abortions at or after 20 weeks. This bill is at the fault lines of the raging abortion debate. Both pro and anti-abortion sides, including Planned Parenthood and survivors of the abortion Holocaust, are weighing in. So, who should have a say? Tonight, joining me for more is Lila Rose. She's the president of Live Action. Not too far from us here in Washington is Tara Culp-Ressler. She's the health editor of Think Progress, who's been covering this debate for a while. And finally, Antoinette Cedillo Lopez is a professor with the University of New Mexico School of Law in Albuquerque. Welcome to all of you. Before we get started, I want to note, if this is your first time watching AJAMStream, we're all about access. So, we use a variety of technologies, including Skype and Google Hangout. Not always technically perfect, but it allows us to reach all sorts of people and communities. Antoinette, I'm going to start with you. As mentioned, in July, Texas joined 12 other states that have approved a ban on abortion after 20 weeks of pregnancy. What does the vote in Albuquerque mean for these statewide legislations?
Well, Albuquerque is the only city in which we have a clinic that will do these midterm abortions at 20 weeks. And so if this were successful, the clinics would either have to move elsewhere within the state, move to the county or to another city in the state. But I actually think that what's going to happen is there'll be an immediate motion for an injunction to stop the implementation of this ordinance.
Yeah, and when I take it to a macro level, Antoinette, I mean, when we're looking at federal law, a lot of people are saying, look, Roe versus Wade, 1973, 5-4 decision, Supreme Court already weighed in. You know, a woman has a fundamental right to have an abortion, and viability was set at 24 to 28 weeks into pregnancy. So a lot of people at home might be saying, you know, isn't this a moot debate?
Well, it was a 7-2 decision.
Yeah.
Well, what Roe v. Wade said is that the paramount interest is in, there isn't a potential interest or an interest in protecting a potential for human life, but the paramount interest is a woman's health. And so that hasn't changed. And so I think that it's going to be, so what has happened is a lot of states have sort of legislated at the borders of those interests. And so we'll see what happens with this attempt to limit the number of abortions that are performed.
All right, Antoinette, thanks for that. Omar, third host of the show is the community. I know Facebook messages, tweets have been coming in all day. What are they saying?
They have been coming in, and we actually also have a video comment that is talking specifically about the organizing that is happening on the ground in favor of passing this law. Take a listen to this.
The reason why we've been so effective here in Albuquerque with first the petition initiative to ban late-term abortions and now with the election process is by really focusing on our base. And our base are the Christian churches, the Catholic churches, and like-minded people. And so we have really focused on those that we know are already pro-life and who oppose killing babies in the womb, especially in the latest stages of pregnancy, which is what we're dealing with here in Albuquerque.
Laila, what do you think, how is this organizing that's happening on the ground in Albuquerque different from other attempts to pass?
Sure. Well, it's all interconnected because there's a grassroots movement in our country that says this is a human being in the womb. And at 20 weeks, the majority of neonatologists agree that this child can feel pain, excruciating pain. So to barbarically really rip that child apart, inject poison into that child's heart, or that, I mean, the abortion clinic describes in one of our undercover videos, that live action, even injecting it into the child's bottom. I mean, really horrific stuff to really torture that child to death, that these are barbaric acts. And nothing justifies it. And it's interesting, we mentioned women's health and Roe v. Wade. Well, even Southwestern Women's Options, the abortion clinic in Albuquerque, says in their consent form that they ask women to sign, they say that after 18 weeks, the abortion procedure is more dangerous, they admit it, than carrying to term. So all this language about women's health, which is important, we should remember that these are really dangerous procedures for women. They're inducing labor, they're ripping a child out of the woman's womb. I mean, really horrific stuff. And this is more dangerous. Even the abortion clinic admits it. It's more dangerous than carrying to term. So I think that's why most people are agreeing, and people in Albuquerque are rising up and saying, hey, we have to stop these barbaric practices. Women deserve better, and our children here in New Mexico deserve better.
All right, Tara, I'm going to get you in this conversation. You heard Antoinette. This bill makes a difference here for life exceptions, but the standard in Roe v. Wade is for the health of the mother. What do you find problematic about the Albuquerque standard?
Right. I mean, I think at a very basic level, it's great to ensure that women's lives are not going to be put at risk by denying them access to medical care. So, I mean, I guess that one narrow exception, that's great. But, you know, really, when it comes to these kind of later procedures, there are other sorts of desperate circumstances under which women may need this kind of late-term abortion care. Often, women discover fatal, really serious fetal after the point of 20 weeks of pregnancy, and often they have to make a really heartbreaking choice to terminate a wanted pregnancy, and I think that that's an issue that's not really being addressed with this type of legislation. There are other cases in which they're severely economically disadvantaged women. They're trying to scrape the money together to have an abortion earlier, but it takes them too long to save up the money, and they simply run out of time. I think that, you know, these are very desperate women that we're talking about, and we're talking about a really cruel piece of legislation that would deny them medical care in those kind of circumstances.
Well, I'll have Lila respond to that.
I think you misunderstood what I said. What I said was, because I actually think that that's a constitutional problem with the ordinance. The ordinance says that an exception may be used to preserve a woman's life, and the standard in Roe v. Wade was to protect a woman's health. And I think that's a constitutional problem with the ordinance.
Let's talk about women's health. Let's talk about that first. And Tara didn't respond to the fact that Southwestern Women's Options, this abortion clinic that's making $8,000, $10,000, you know, up to $12,000 off of these horrific late-term abortions, that they say in their own consent form that after 18 weeks, so this ban doesn't even cover the 19-week-old baby, the 18-week-old baby, but after 18 weeks, these abortions are more dangerous than carrying to term. I mean, let that sink in. And why is that? Well, let's actually think about what this procedure does. We all deserve to know what actually happens during these procedures. This is why I say, without a shadow of a doubt, abortion is not medical care. Because what happens during these procedures, and we've documented on tape, the actual abortionist talking about this, they give them labor-inducing drugs and inject poison or literally tear these children limb from torso, excruciating pain. They send the women to a hotel room. They have a deal with the local hotel to wait for the baby to be delivered. So they literally say, sit on the toilet, leave the door unlocked, and don't look down.
But Lila, I mean, shouldn't there be some exceptions?
This is not women's health.
But shouldn't there be some exceptions for rape and incest? I mean, the bill doesn't even allow that.
Let's talk about rape and incest. I think any woman who's the victim of rape or incest deserves our complete care and protection. That abuser needs to be held fully accountable to the fullest extent of the law. But that child's innocent. That child did not deserve the death penalty because of the sins of his or her father. If my father does something terrible, that doesn't mean I should be killed. And when you tell a woman, hey, you had a rape, you should go have an abortion, that abortion is only going to add violence to the violence of the rape. You think that's going to help her recover from the rape?